So, this is a follow-up video. Obviously, there's a movement called the Oikos Movement. And the reason I've searched them out is this man here. He's called Dr. K, and he's running a large number of videos making claims that Jehovah's Witnesses organisation is crashing, that thousands are leaving Jehovah's Witnesses. They're going to cease operating soon. He makes allegations that it's a money-making organisation, that New Light is just mentioned, or Jehovah's Witnesses organisation makes changes only to make more money and also to control the members and treat them like slaves. So I found out that he either supports or works for the Oikos Movement. Now, this is an interesting movement. Let's just show you a little bit about them, shall we? Christian religious group. Only 24% of church attenders know what the Great Commission is. The Great Commission, of course, is to preach the good news. Preach the good news. And then it says here, we are beyond excited and blessed by the opportunity to serve alongside board members of the Oikos Movement. The Lord is doing some incredible things through this initiative, and we are seeing the fruit from those who have put the Oikos principle into action. I'm looking forward to connecting with so many of you in the near future. And then it says, just says here, leveraging the same ministry principle that Jesus taught and modelled for us, the principle that will activate your congregation to embrace the Great Commission like never before. Isn't that marvellous? And then one final bit. Here we are. Yep. And this is the one final bit. He says, are you burdened by regularly challenging your congregation to share the gospel? This is a message to pastors, because church members, of course, have no idea whatsoever of what they should be doing if they're to follow Jesus' example. And the point they're making is that Jesus taught people to preach the good news and to be disciples. Something that, of course, Jehovah's Witnesses have been doing since their inception in the 1880s. So that's some 140 years ago. So Jehovah's Witnesses have been preaching the good news as Jesus taught the early Christians to do, his own apostles. They've been doing that for all those years. Now, of course, Christians in the churches, the Protestant Christian churches, are not too pleased about that because they've never taught that. You see, the Catholic Church never taught it to its followers, the parishioners. The Anglican Church, copying the Catholic Church, never taught it. And, of course, all the Protestant denominations that have sprung up, Baptists, Lutherans, Methodists, they've all followed the Catholic example. They may have little teachings that are different, but their main teachings remain the same. Their main practices remain the same. The smaller churches may not be as posh as the Church of England or the Catholic Church in the Vatican, but they all follow the same principle. Now, of course, Jehovah's Witnesses are different because they're people that came out of those churches back in the 19th century. They came out and became Christians and hence followed the practice that Jesus followed. Now, the only problem is this group here, they believe that the teachings of the original churches, the Catholic Church and the high churches, the Anglican churches, with the teachings of the Trinity, of Jesus being God himself or part of a Godhead, there being hellfire, there being the immortal soul where you go fluttering off to death, after death to heaven or to hell. they're all teachings that they all hold in common. Of course, Jehovah's Witnesses rejected them back in the 1880s because that was the very thing that they couldn't accept. The Bible students in those days couldn't accept that a loving God would have a place of torment, and it wouldn't just go on for a little while, it would go on forever. So they've been preaching the good news. Now, this group here is trying to activate its members to do the same, with little effect. It's having little effect with the pastors, let alone the run-of-the-mill congregation members, because they've never been taught to do it anyway. If they want to preach the good news, they need to go to Jehovah's Witnesses. And it also says there that they don't know how to do it. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses have 2 times where they meet in their religious church. They call them kingdom halls. They meet twice a week. One of those meetings, nights, it contains training, preaching training, doing talks, demonstrating Bible readings, demonstrating meeting householders how to deal with objections. They're doing training every single week through the whole year. So they have been trained. So that's why Jehovah's Witnesses preachers are so effective. And they're willing to be patient with people. If people don't respond, they're not worried about it. Because Jesus said to his disciples, if you don't respond, just shake the dust off your feet and move on to the next village or town. So that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do as well. So, of course, these groups are jealous. So what they've decided to do is this Dr. K, they've just released 20 videos in the last 3 weeks. They are determined to destroy Jehovah's Witnesses. They'll resort to lies and half-truths. So this organisation and other Christian organisations that kind of support that policy, because there's plenty who follow the same policy as them, they want to destroy Jehovah's Witnesses as an organisation. Of course they do, because they view them as a competitor. But you see, no one else is doing what Jesus said. So they're very jealous. So that's their method. The amazing thing is that this Dr. K, nearly all his videos are attacking Jehovah's Witnesses and making claims. Now, I'm addressing those in a number of videos because the claims are half-truths. And that's the nastiness about it. And because he's being portrayed as some kind of guru, rather like Jordan Peterson, a neutral figure, it's a lie. And if you're going to start out presenting yourself as a YouTube channel in this case, based on a lie and a misleading presentation, then that should explain volumes. That anything they say really is, you can't trust it, because once you've met someone and they've lied to you right at the beginning of the so-called relationship, what do you trust? What do you trust what they say? So if you've had that experience yourself, and I'm sure you have, someone portraying themselves as a friend and really they've been deceiving you right from the beginning. It's a shame to feel betrayed, but that's of course what Satan did, didn't he? When he pretended to be a snake in front of Eve in the Garden of Eden, he portrayed himself as her friend, her new friend, who was giving her some helpful advice. And look where that led them. To sin and death. Something we wouldn't suffer from as a human race if it wasn't for the lies. So there we are. That's that organisation. Please subscribe. There's a not just jw.org. There is the other website that you could peruse. That's of interest. And please subscribe and follow this course of videos, because this will at least address those attacks, those unwarranted attacks that are being made against a quiet and peaceful people who stand quietly at their carts. Have you witnessed in your town or city the behaviour of these born-again style Christians who are trying to preach? You see, they haven't been trained, and they haven't been trained to speak to people with love and compassion, whereas Jehovah's Witnesses do. You see, if you walk past their carts, they're not going to harangue you, they're not going to interrupt you. You have to come to them. And if Jehovah's Witnesses knock on your door and you're not interested and you slam it in their face, or you are not very polite, how do they respond? You see, these so-called evangelists in the city centres berate people when they won't listen. I've even heard them shouting out, "If you don't listen, you'll go to hell." Well, that makes them worse than, I don't know, President Putin. Because he doesn't threaten to send people to hell. There's a war going on, obviously. Anyway, so thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe, and there's a notification button I'm trying to put on my videos as well, so I hope to get that sorted so that when a new video comes out you can get notified. So thank you very much for your attention. Take care, everybody. And who knows what 2025 holds, but we're having to wait and see, aren't we? Thank you, and may Almighty God, the creator of the universe, and his dear Son bless you and your family. Take care.